In today's video, we're looking at some of the best intro bonuses available right now. Whether you're on Team Hotel Travel with Bonvoy or Team Flights with Delta and their partners, or you're on the fence and want options for cash back, there's probably an offer for you. Big favor, give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Starting off with the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card. This is great for Team Flights or Team Cashback, but less good for Team Hyatt. You're going to get 100,000 bonus points after 5,000 spent on purchases in the first 3 months from account opening. Absolute worst case, that's 1,000 in cash back. 1,000 value divided by 5,000 spend is 20% return on spend. If you transfer to airline partners, the value can range drastically. For economy, it's still pretty weak, but for something like first or business class, you can get outsized value. My target for this is 2 cents per point, so 100K times 2 cents is about 2,000 in value. 2,000 divided by 5,000 is 40% return on spend. Your mileage may vary here, but there is a ton of upside. Their annual fee, but you can earn up to 100 in statement credits each account anniversary year for hotel stays booked through Chase Travel. For a lot of people, it ends up being a break-even card. If it's not a fit, you have downgrade paths in year 2 to the Chase Freedom Unlimited or the Chase Freedom Flex, both of which have no annual fees and add non-zero value. And that's the case even if you decide to change things up. Next up, we have the Ink Business Cash Credit Card, which has a historic high offer. This is a no annual fee business card. That part does scare people, but a lot of people do qualify. If you have a side business or if you don't work a traditional W-2 job, I'd strongly consider looking into it. For example, if you're a full-time Uber driver, it's not abnormal to have your business under an LLC. Same thing with content creation, or if you run a photography business, LLCs are pretty common nowadays. For the offer, you're looking at 1,000 cash back after 8,000 spent on purchases in the first 4 months from account opening. The cash back here, per the terms, is technically points. So cashback rewards are tracked as points, and each $1 in cashback is equal to 100 points. In this case, 1,000 in cashback is 100,000 bonus points. This means that we get the best of both worlds depending on your upcoming plans. The worst case, 1,000 cashback divided by 8,000 spend is 12.5% return on spend. If you have other cards or you plan to get them in the future, then the points have more upside. So you can transfer the points to the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card, Ink Business Preferred Credit Card, Chase Sapphire Reserve, or Chase Sapphire Reserve for Business. All of them work the same for the purpose of premium flights. I would do the latter two though if you are focused on Hyatt, given the better transfer rate. For this type of travel, whether flights or hotels, my target is 2 cents per point. 100,000 bonus points times 2 cents is 2,000 in value, divided by 8,000 spend is 25% return on spend. If you're comfortable with business cards, they're a great and easy way to top off your points. If it's not a weird question, I'm kind of curious what type of business everyone has. Moving on with the Ink Business Unlimited Credit Card. This has the same exact offer, so pretty straightforward here. It just depends on which one fits you more, given your setup and your spend. This one's meant more as a catch-all, which is fine, especially if you want something simple. The Ink Business Cash Credit Card, to me at least, has a bit more upside, given the categories. You also can product change between these, so very little downside risk if you end up changing your mind. On a side note, if you are someone that wants to learn about cards, whether these ones are pretty much any of the cards out there, and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Going up a few levels, we have the Chase Sapphire Reserve for Business. You're looking at 200,000 bonus points after 30,000 spent on purchases in the first 6 months from account opening. The spend here definitely is aggressive and targeting more established businesses. There also is a $7.95 annual fee, but you do get a bunch of travel credits. For example, the annual travel credit is super easy. The Edit Hotels one is a bit more annoying, but can still work for some cities. Chase Travel Hotels through December 31st, 2026 is pretty easy through IHG, and you also have a bunch of business credits. In my case, I use and value the Google Workspace one since I run my own domain. The curated gift card credit is a bit annoying, but still fine. I also take lifts, so that's fine as well. There are some that I skip, but you might value. For example, ZipRecruiter, which I don't use, and I don't see myself using. Also DoorDash, which has non-zero value for me, but I'm hesitant attributing too much to it since it's not something I use consistently. To be fair, I do realize that some people have kids or crazy work schedules end up DoorDashing every meal, but I'm more than happy to just walk to RT Rotisserie or Mirafuku and eat there. Kind of curious about everyone else, but where do you fall on the scale between cooking, takeout, and eating out? Switching over to hotels, let's take a look at the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless credit card. The limited time offer has a few components. You're going to get 125K Bonvoy bonus points and one free night up to $50K per night after $3,000 spent on purchases in the first 3 months from account opening. There also is a special offer through June 30th, 2027, where you get up to 100 installment credits after spending $500 on eligible airline purchases. Also, this is broken down into up to $50 semi-annual credits. So 3 chunks here: Bonvoy points, 1 free night, and also statement credits. The main use case of Bonvoy points is their hotels. I target 0.8 to 1 cent per point, but value can be as low as 0.4, and I've also booked up to 2 cents, so it just really depends on you. If you're a skier, this is a great option if you can book when the window opens. For example, I have the Western Rizitsu booked for next year, and the total price would have been about 1,000,000 yen. During the exchange rate at the time of booking, that's about $6,600 or about $1,300 per night. Using points, you're looking at as low as 70K range, even still during prime-ish ski season. Also, when you do use points, they have 5th night free, so I'm booking the same exact dates for 366K points and 750 yen. 750 yen is about $5. 6,600 in value divided by 366,000 points is 1.8 cents per point. This is within my would pay range, and just the nature of ski hotels, especially ski and ski out ones, which we like going to. And to be fair, I wouldn't expect this type of value all the time, but it does exist. With a target of 0.8 cents per point, 125K is 1,000 in value. Oh, also there is a big note. So you can transfer Chase points to Bonvoy points with the right cards, but not the other way around. It's a one-way thing. Even though it is a Chase card, you can't use it to get more Chase points. The 1 free night depends on where you want to go and where you want to stay. Reminder that with these certificates, you can top off with up to 25K points from your Bonvoy stash. The maximum you can book would be 50K plus 25, so up to 75K. In the US, the value kinda sucks. We usually do Asia, especially if you're willing to book last minute when they can't move the rooms. You can find solid Ritz-Carltons or JWs or St. Regis's in that 50K to 75K band. For example, the Ritz-Carlton Langkawi can be booked for 75K points. This is a beautiful property that we've been to a few years back, and I'd happily recommend. Also, if you want to see the full video, that's over on the Sebby Fung travel channel. Typically, you're looking at 600 to 800 per night, so you're in that 0.8 to 1 cent per point range. My whole strategy for the past few years has been stacking these certificates and using them when I get outsized value. Also, why I have so many cards. For the statement credit component, I'd probably discount it. Ideally, you have a flight that fits in that 500 range, and then just use the card specifically for that. If it's a hassle though, then maybe even ignore it. It just feels very secondary. Your mileage may vary there. Next up, we have the Flagship option from Bonvoy. This one's a lot more straightforward, at least for the intro bonus. You're earning up to 150K Bonvoy bonus points. Tranche number 1 is 100K Bonvoy after 6,000 spent on purchases in the first 6 months from account opening. Tranche number 2 is an extra 50K after an additional 2K spent on purchases within the first 6 months. Maybe a bit confusing there, but if you combine them, that's up to 150K total after a total of 8,000 spent within the first 6 months. The value is pretty good for both tranches. With a target of 0.8 cents per point, tranche number 1 is worth 800 in value, and divided by that 6,000 minimum spend requirement is 13.3% return on spend. For tranche number 2, 50K times 0.8 is 400 in value, divided by 2,000 is 20% return on spend. Funny enough, with a lot of other intro bonuses, tranche number 2 ends up being worse, but that's not the case here. Together, as a blended number, up to 150K times 0.8 is 1,200 in value, for 8,000 total spend is 15% return on spend. That's what I'm targeting as a minimum value before I redeem. If you do find something very good like the Rizitsu example, then 150K times 1.8 is 2,700 in value, for 8,000 spend is 33.8% return on spend. There is a $650 annual fee, but I'd argue that the benefits outweigh the cost here. You have 3 different parts: the credits, anniversary nights, and elite status. For the first one, you get up to 300, and it's broken down into up to 25 per month as a dining credit. If you eat out with any frequency, then this is easy. You also get 1 free award night up to 85,000 Bonvoy, each card member anniversary. Reminder that you cannot turn free night awards into Bonvoy points. You also can't break up an 85K night into 2 35K or use it for 2 smaller redemptions. You can use it for cheaper nights, but you're leaving value on the table. Even if you are more focused on US travel, you can book something like the JW Marriott in LA during events, and it's probably going to be amazing value. When there's no events, it's pretty affordable, but when there are events, it can skyrocket, and the math makes sense using certificates. If you're more flexible, then maybe look at the Ritz-Carlton LA next door, which can be as low as $85K. Even if you have to pick the $97K night, you can top off with $12K more points, and that still works. The maximum redemption value is $85K plus $25K, so $110K. The last perk is Elite status. The product gives you complimentary Platinum Elite status, which normally requires 50 nights a year. If you are trying to work up to Titanium, note that you're not starting at 50 nights. The card offers 25 Elite night credits, so that's your starting point, not the 50 night because that's just gifted status. The main draws to me are going to be 4 p.m. late checkout when available, which is surprisingly helpful, breakfast as a welcome gift option depending on the hotel, and also room upgrades up to select suites depending on brand. Also guaranteed lounge access and complimentary breakfast when available. A lot of the benefits are going to differ by brands, their levels, and also location. For example, a St. Regis is going to have better service and also a better breakfast than a standard Marriott. I say this a lot, but upgrade experience and general experience tends to be a lot better in Asia. My upgrade odds in the US for suites is probably about 20%, maybe 15%. In Asia, it is up to 50 and more. Certain markets are tougher though, for example Hong Kong, which is more business-centric, you have more business travelers, so more people of status. Resorts on the other hand tend to have less business travelers and typically more upgraded rooms, so it's just easier. The main strategy though for most people is to book one level below the room that you want to get upgraded to. Also, I find that Asia just goes above and beyond. For example, Ritz-Carltons are one of the brands that don't have to offer breakfast even if you have Platinum status or Titanium or their top level Ambassador status. Even though they don't have to, the Ritz-Carlton in Kyoto offers free breakfast for Platinum and above, which is amazing. It's also a really good breakfast and amazing service, and they're happy to do this. Apparently, the Ritz-Carlton in Tokyo also started doing this as well, with the caveat that you can't check in online, you have to do it in person and select it as your welcome gift. It depends on how you travel and where, but even if you are only doing domestic, that 4 p.m. late checkout is awesome. Last up is a flight of Delta products. Pretty much anything with an annual fee, and we have 3 levels on both the personal and business sides. Starting with the $150 annual fee personal side, we have up to 90,000 bonus miles and 2 tranches. Tranche number 1 is 70,000 bonus miles after 3K spent on purchases in the first 6 months from account opening. Tranche 2 is 20,000 bonus miles after an additional 2,000 spent on purchases in the first 6 months. Blending these together, it's up to 90K bonus miles after a total of 5K total spend in the first 6 months. Delta miles have a pretty big range depending on your use case. The absolute floor value here is 1 cent per mile when you pay with miles. If you book with miles though, the value tends to be between 1.1 to 1.5 cents per mile, and the top range isn't that abnormal either. It happens a decent amount of time. When Delta does dump availability for new routes, you'll often see Delta One suites for 90K to 105K miles per way, and the value depends on what you would pay and also how you mentally target things. I would bucket this as 2 cents per mile, but it is pretty tough. For example, 6 months ago, Delta did a dump for LAX to Hong Kong with Delta One for 93.5K. If you missed that dump though, then you're looking at 300K, which isn't really worth it to me, and I'd wait for the next dump. I also don't think those happen enough, and you also have to want to go to those places, so I think I would still go down to 1.5 range as a target. 2 is nice, it happens, but it's tough. Taking a look at the numbers, Tranche 1 is between 700 to 1400 in value, and that's 23.3 to 46.7% return on spend. Tranche 2 is 200 to 400 in value, or 10 to 20% return on spend. Blended is 900 to 1800, and I personally peg it at 1350 given how I value Delta miles. Main idea though is Tranche 1 makes sense, Tranche 2 is about half the value but still works, and both together are solid across the board. Some people might want to skip Tranche 2, but the value isn't bad here. Also a reminder that you can downgrade personal variants, but not business variants, so you have a lot more optionality on the personal side. Heading to the business version, it's a lot more straightforward. You're looking at 90K bonus miles after 6,000 spent in the first 6 months. So 1,000 additional spend, but no tranching. The value here is 900 to 1,800, or 15 to 30% return on spend, and pretty strong value. Going up the ladder, we have the 350 variant. Here, it's up to 100K bonus miles, and there's 2 tranches. First one's 80K after 4,000 spent on purchases in the first 6 months. Tranche 2 is 20K after an additional 2K within the first 6 months. Same principle here with Tranche 2 being weaker, but I'd still do both personally. The blended number is pretty solid, between 1,000 and 2,000 in value, or 16.7 to 33.3% return on spend. With the annual fee here, you do have a bunch of credits and also other perks, and if you can value enough of the credits, then the card works out. But yeah, otherwise you have optionality in year 2. On the business side, you're looking at 100,000 bonus miles after 8,000 spent on purchases in the first 6 months. So same total number of miles, but 2,000 additional spend. The value here is the same, between 1,000 and 2,000, but return on spend is a bit lower at 12.5 to 25%. On the top 650 annual fee personal level, we have up to 125k bonus miles. Tranche 1 is 100k after 6,000 in the first 6 months. Tranche 2 is 25k bonus miles after an additional 3,000 in the first 6 months. For the blended number, you're looking at 1,250 to 2,500 in value, or about 14% to 28% return on spend. In isolation, it still looks pretty good, but return on spend does decrease as you move up the ladder with their products, just given the nature of things. You do have credits, perks, and also a lounge feature, which is pretty useful if you fly Delta, and you generally want to value 2 of those 3 things. On the business side, 125k bonus miles after 15,000 spent on purchases in the first 6 months. Same bonus amount, but instead of 9k total, you're looking at 15k, so a 6k jump. This does drop return on spend pretty dramatically to 8.3% to 16.7%, but those are still pretty good numbers. I'd only do it though if you can finish the intro bonus, so it depends on your business and your upcoming spend or your personal spend. At the same time, for Delta products, you want to work your way up. If you started with the 650, then you're locked out of the intro bonus for the 150 and 350. If you did 350, then you're locked out of 150, but you can still get 650 afterwards. On the other hand, if you do 150, you can do 350 after, and then 650, meaning you get all 3. In this space, intro bonuses are the golden goose and the big drivers of value, so halving does matter. If you don't work the way up or if you get the wrong card first, you could be leaving 1,800 in value on the table. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. And if you're curious, all affiliate disclosures can also be found below in the description box. For any annual fee cards, if you are debating the math, I'd recommend running the numbers. And for most of them, we do have calculators on the site that should pop up if you search card name worth it AskSebby. If you made it to this point, leave a goose emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, how do you end up using your bank points? Are you more about cash back, flights, or hotels? Number 2, what's the best Marriott Bonvoy property you've booked with points? Number 3, how do you think about Delta miles and how do you use them? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.